Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Well, it's a new year, and we've had a couple of days to get over our hangovers or whatever it was that we experienced on New Year's Eve. And I think a lot of us probably set some New Year's resolutions and some things that we wanted to achieve in the new year in 2024. I came across someone who is one of the most inspirational people that I've interacted with. She has gone through an incredible transformation. She's going to tell us a little bit about it. And I think that some of what happened to her and how she got out of what happened to her and how she's changed her life and her body and her health and her fitness is very inspirational. And so I'm pleased to introduce you tonight to Karen Hewitt. Kiki is her name. She at 50 was diagnosed as being pre-diabetic. She had very high cholesterol and was severely depressed. Poor mental and physical health was the result of a traumatic life event, a life-threatening illness, and a corporate career that, despite being very successful, was misaligned. Rather than venture down the road of prescribed medication, she found inspiration from Train with Joan's Instagram account. With the example of what was possible, she hired a coach and got about the business of changing her life one rep at a time. What she has learned extends way beyond the gym. On Instagram, she has posted numerous posts about her change in her fitness level and in her body, and about her traumatic events and how she's changed. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Brian. It's
My
great to
pleasure,
be here.
Kiki. So you started your weight at 162. You're now 117. That's
That's
a
right.
huge body loss.
Huge difference. And I truthfully will tell you and your listeners that 162 is what I think I know. That was from a doctor's visit, where I was told at that time that I was pre-diabetic. My cholesterol was quite high, and other health markers were starting to appear. And I had no idea what I weighed, no idea. And so, truthfully, could I have been higher at some point? Probably. I don't know. But at that point in time, at that doctor's visit, I was pretty alarmed, not just by the number on the scale, but what I was being told about my health.
Right.
And it was time to change. So that was kind of the line in the sand that day. That was a January of 2020.
And today you say you're strong, but not skinny.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think, as a woman, I'm sure a lot of your female listeners especially can relate to this. I think we've always kind of revered the idea of being thin, be little, be skinny. I grew up in an era where, certainly in the early 80s and early 90s, we went through kind of the heroin chic fashion phase, where if you could see your rib cage, that was a good thing. And what I've learned from my experience with bodybuilding and my health transformation these past few years and working with my coach, who is a bodybuilder, I have learned how to put on muscle and to love the look of that. And yes, I love the look of it aesthetically, but it's also really beneficial for my health.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into the situation you were in. You said you were severely
Mhm.
depressed.
Mm. That I'm going to tell you goes back a number of years. In my late 20s, married to absolutely my dream guy, fabulous marriage. Had a little boy who was 2 at the time. I was pregnant with twins, lost the twins in a very kind of abrupt way. It was an ectopic pregnancy. Um, didn't see that coming. 8 weeks later, I lost my husband. And it was just kind of just an incredible series of events that left me feeling very depressed, as anybody could imagine. And then fast forward about 18 months after he passed away, I contracted a really serious form of pneumonia called Pseudomonas pneumonia, which resulted with me being in a coma for 10 and a half weeks, losing most of my right lung. I have a little bit of it left on the right side, but it doesn't really function. Um, and really kind of facing a life threatening event that had me coming out the other side, really questioning everything about life, having a hard time picking up the pieces and moving on and being the strong mom that I needed to be for my little boy. Um, Entered a corporate career, which I was very successful in. Um, but despite the success, felt very misaligned. So it was constantly climbing that corporate ladder, um, and in an environment that just wasn't good for me. Led to a lot of drinking, I talk a lot about this openly on my Instagram page. I've been sober now for a little over 2 years, and that's been a really life-changing aspect of my health journey. But all those series of events, losing my husband, losing the twins, becoming very, very ill myself, and recovering from that took quite a while. Um, I think was the beginning of a downward spiral from a depression standpoint. My mental health really took a toll.
Oh my God, I'm so
Um,
sorry to hear all of this
yeah.
that happened. Though it sounds like this depression went on for like 2 decades because you lost your husband, what, 20 years ago?
Yeah, 98. Yep. You're absolutely right, Brian. I think I just kept thinking I could numb it. I could just stuff it down with alcohol, with food, with overworking. I was an absolute workaholic, which led to some great success in the corporate world, but also to my own health demise. I never took care of myself. I was, at every after work party, at every corporate, client event, um, meetings all over the place, and just never taking care of myself, never stopping for a second to ask, what is the impact all of this busyness was having on my physical health as well as my mental health?
Right.
And I think I knew I was depressed, but um, just really thought I could overcome that by continuing to numb. I was on medication for a period of time, and I'm not here to demonize medication. It just didn't work for me.
Right.
Um, so,
And so you said you've been sober for 2 years. What did you go to rehab? Did you go cold turkey? What was the catalyst for that?
yeah, I think when I'm talking about drinking, and what I just shared with you about those 2 decades of my life, I don't want to say that I quote unquote had a problem with alcohol, that I'm an alcoholic. I have a hard time identifying with that label. I'm not quite sure where I land with that. So I'll just say that. Um, but I stopped drinking in August of 2021 simply as an experiment. I was with some family. We were in Colorado. We were at altitude, which has a whole other aspect to alcohol. Um, and I'd had a couple of glasses of wine, not something out of the ordinary, but again, at altitude, it probably felt like double the amount.
Yeah.
And I was hungover for probably a week. And I decided after that experience that I just didn't want to feel that way anymore. I didn't want the 2 a.m. shame game. I didn't want to wake up and question what I had said the night before. And I'm a good time when I'm drinking. I am fun. I am out of my shell. I am just the life of the party. I kind of am a little more introverted in my real life. And I think I become this, you know, just really joyful and happy person. So there's nothing bad that happens there. But it's the day after, the, couple days after, I have
Yeah.
a really hard time recovering. And so I decided at that point in time, it was time for me to really look at this. Was not serving me. I hated how I felt. And I decided to go cold turkey, but cold turkey one day at a time. I didn't put any absolutes out there. I still don't. People ask me, will you ever drink again? I'm not going to say never, but I know that it just doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
And I just kept asking myself that question every day. Do I feel better? Did I sleep better? Do I, is kind of everything in my life a little bit brighter and better and more coherent and clear? Yeah. So the answer kept being yes, and I kept going.
But then you started this fitness routine and losing weight. What was the catalyst to that? The same thing?
So yes, so back up into January of 2020 when I had the health report from my doctor. Um, I immediately thought to myself, I do not want to be on medication. I don't want to be on insulin. Both my parents were severely diabetic around my age and for the rest of their lives and died prematurely of complications from their diabetes. And I didn't want that for myself. My daughter, my bonus daughter, my stepdaughter, is an online fitness coach. And at that time, I asked her for support. I said, can you help me put together some fitness programming to keep me organized? And she absolutely did. She was amazing. And the one thing she asked me to do was to track my food and learn about macronutrition. I refused. I said, that's crazy. I don't want to do that. That seems too restrictive. I wasn't interested. So I worked with my bonus daughter, Claire, for about a year, And it had some moderate success. I dropped from, I don't know, maybe 162 down to 150 or so. And in the spring of 2021, I just felt I needed something more. I needed a community of women, my age group, my life experience to connect with and kind of, um, you know, just see what other gears I had, if you will.
Yeah.
And there's this wonderful program I found through Train with Joan. If anybody has ever followed Train with Joan on her Instagram, if you aren't already, I highly recommend following her. I was scrolling through Instagram and found a video of Joan doing pull-ups, unassisted pull-ups in her 70s. And her story is she had gone from being quite overweight on a number of medications, some very poor health markers, to several months later working with her daughter, who's an amazing online fitness coach and bodybuilder, incredibly accomplished woman. She helped her mother regain her health. Joan, several months later was off of all of her medications, was building muscle in her 70s, was vibrant and healthy and just living her best life. And I saw that video and I knew she was telling the truth. I knew there were no gimmicks attached to it. And I said, whatever she's doing, I want to know everything about it.
So how did you do this? The transformation
Yeah.
is incredible.
So thank you so much. I appreciate that, Brian. It was a lot of hard work and a lot of, I'm not going to sugarcoat, a lot of tears along the way, because I think when you go through a major transformation like this, it has to start on the inside. I had to get really clear about why I wanted to do this. But going back to my Joan story really quickly, I had seen this video of her. I was so inspired. I started researching how she had gotten in the best shape of her life. And her daughter runs this online fitness program called the Wonder Women Official. I immediately went to their webpage, learned everything I could, and I decided I wanted to apply for that program. And it was kind of a no joke application, right? You really had to tell your life story. You had to really be clear about your why you wanted to do this. And long story short, I applied for the program in spring of 2021. They got back to me in about July and they said they didn't have any spots open, but they would love to put me on the waiting list. I said, great, I will take it. In the meantime, I kept doing the little things I was doing with my bonus daughter, although not being totally adhering to her program because she's family. I just wasn't willing to listen all the way. In the meantime, I had decided to leave my corporate career. I had decided this was a point in my life. I just wanted to try something new.
So give me a sense. What was the corporate career? Was it, you say it was very demanding and you were at all the after hour parties and stuff like that. What were you doing?
I worked in insurance and risk management. So primarily I worked for a large global brokerage, managing large international accounts for the health and medical self-funded space. So,
okay. And you decided to do that.
I decided to leave that and gave my notice in August of 2021 and stopped drinking around the same time. My last day at my job was September 10th. September 11th, I got a note from the Wonder Women that they had a spot open in October and could I take it? Absolutely. So at that point in time, it was a line in the sand. I had to learn macronutrition. It is a non-negotiable for the program. So here I was kind of confronted with all the stuff I was refusing to do with my bonus daughter, who's brilliant. And I had to learn all about nutrition. And it was a game changer. Learning about the correct proteins, fats, and carbs, are the three macros that I needed to understand in what quantities were right for my body. And I'd never thought of nutrition in this lens before.
I'd like to get into that in greater detail after a break. But is this comparable to like the Atkins diet or the no carb diet, or what is this?
Not at all. No, I will tell you, I eat carbs, I eat fats, I eat proteins, I eat all the things. It's understanding the composition of the food that I'm putting into my body and eating consistently and eating enough protein for a woman my age. I'll be 54 in a few days. And having enough protein as now a postmenopausal woman is super, super important for maintaining muscle health, skeletal health, mental health, all of those things. And it's just something I never knew. I was very uneducated in that arena.
You've got an Instagram that is well followed and provides a lot of good information. Would you mind telling everyone what the handle is so that they can sign up if they're interested?
Absolutely. It's called the Likey Viking, and it's spelled Lykke Viking. And for anybody that's interested, the word Likey just means joy. It's a Scandinavian word that means joy.
We're going to take a break for some messages and come back in just 2 minutes with Kiki talking about resolutions and manifestation and setting intentions for whether it's the new year or a new life, because Kiki seems to have really created for herself a new life. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour at Saga 960. It's a new year, and lots of us give a lot of thought to what we want to achieve in the new year, whether it's resolutions or goals or dreams or manifestations or intentions or I don't know what you call them, but lots of us think about that. And I think it's probably healthy to think about this all the time, but probably at the new year. And I ran across someone on social media, Kiki Hurwitt. Karen Hurwitt is her name. She goes by Kiki, and she's got this Instagram uh, that is unbelievable about her transformation. Uh, and and like a lot of transformations, it came from a negative situation. I think a lot of us have to go through a negative situation to get onto a positive situation, a positive outlook on life. And there's issues in regards to weight and fitness and health and nutrition, but also alcohol. Maybe working to live rather than living to work as well is in there. And so I thought I'd reach out to her to help us think about what we got to do in 2024. And one of the things, Kiki, that I was really impressed with is you shared recently a comment about when to start. And again, it was inspirational because a lot of us sort of think that we got to, we're too late. We're too old to start. I wonder if you could comment about this post and maybe read some of it that you posted previously about when you became different things and at what age you actually made the transformation.
Yeah, thanks for sharing this. This was a post I did to kind of give a timeline of what my journey has been like and hopefully encourage others to know that no matter what you've been through, it's never too late. And so my timeline goes like this. It was age 25, I was married. 26, I became a mom. 28, I lost twins during pregnancy. 28, I also became a widow and a single mom. Age 30, I endured a life-threatening illness, a coma, and I lost my lung. 36, I remarried a magical human, absolutely amazing man. Age 30 to 51, I climbed a corporate ladder. Age 50, I was diagnosed as being pre-diabetic with high cholesterol, and I had pretty severe depression. I also was drinking quite a bit. Age 51, I left my corporate career. Age 51, I also hired a coach to help me because I recognized I couldn't do it on my own. I needed some guidance. Age 51, I also got sober. I learned about macronutrition. I learned how to lift really heavy weights. Um, I lost 47 pounds and I started to find my light again, which was probably the best part. I also made new friends, which was a big surprise to me in this online community. Age 53, I'll be 54 in a few days. I keep learning, growing, and expanding every day on this journey. And it's been truly, truly remarkable and fun.
And your final line, I think, is pretty impressive. No matter what life serves up, it's never too late.
That's right. That's right. And I think the key thing here in sharing this timeline was recognizing I really needed help. And I wasn't looking for a quick fix. I knew it was deeper than that. This wasn't just um, a quick fix diet that I wanted to go on. And I think the old approach I'd always had was if I could get to XYZ weight or achieve XYZ promotion in my corporate career, what have you, then everything would fall into place. The reality was I needed to really explore all of the inside things, all the inner workings, all the depression I was experiencing, all of the things I was grappling with internally. And when I got really clear about that, the other components just kind of fell into place. So when I say it's an inside job, for me, it truly, truly was and is.
Kiki, when I take a look at the pictures that you post on social media about your transformation, No one would call you fat, even in the beginning.
No, and that's fine. I wouldn't call myself fat, but people need to remember, regardless of how I looked, I was unhealthy. I was medically unhealthy. I was on the brink of needing insulin. My cholesterol was quite high. And I think it's pretty evident, especially in some of the early on pictures. I'm just depressed. You can see it in my face. You can see it in my eyes. A lot of people tell me there was just no light in my eyes. And I think today I feel very different.
You
I think
lost
that's evident.
you lost a third of yourself.
Mm, yeah,
That's like that's incredible. And it was
yeah.
heavy weights. Tell me a little bit about heavy weights.
Yeah, so the coach I work with is Michelle McDonald. She is the daughter of Train with Joan, who I mentioned earlier, and she runs an online fitness program for transformation work for predominantly women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. And she's based in Tulum, Mexico. It's all online, and she is a bodybuilder. So the principles we learned in her coaching program are really about learning to lift heavy weight. And what I mean by that is complex lifts, learning how to deadlift, learning how to do a bench press, learning how to do hip thrusts, Romanian deadlifts, pull ups, things I never dreamed I could do. Have I gone to the gym in my past life and done tons of cardio? Sure. And lifted, 10 or 15-pound dumbbells. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about learning how to lift your own body weight off the floor in a deadlift and beyond. We're way beyond that.
And what's the benefit of that?
Building muscle, challenging our bodies. It improves our bone health, and improving muscle at this stage in the game is absolutely critical to longevity. It is the organ of longevity. It is what keeps us safe in our older years. It's going to protect my skeleton if I continue to preserve and build muscle in my 50s, 60s, and hopefully beyond. I will
Muscle is the
preserve.
organ of longevity
Yeah. Yeah.
and not cardio. Lots of people thought it was
I
going running marathons.
I do cardio, but I don't do it intensely. And it, keep in mind when I'm talking about this, everybody's program within this coaching program is a little bit different. So the first phase I went through with my coach was a cut phase, meaning a diet phase, where my macronutrition was at a point where I was in a little bit of a caloric deficit, given all the work I was doing in the gym, but not anything extreme. I went through a period about 7 months where I lost the bulk of that weight. After the 7 months, I went into what's called a reverse diet, meaning we took my calories, my macros up a level incrementally, very, very, very slowly to get me to the highest amount of calories that I could eat and not be gaining fat, and also strengthening and improving my muscle.
What'd your family think of this? What'd your
They
husband
were
think of this?
they were incredibly supportive. That's a great question, and I love to talk about this. I never said a word to my husband about you should do this too or join me on this. Never, ever, ever. 6 months or so into my program, he walked into the kitchen one morning and said he just hired a coach. And my jaw about fell on the floor. And it was interesting. So, about 3 months into my transformation and working with my coach, he had said to me, "Boy, you look better. You look like you're getting healthier." And I think a lot of the inflammation was leaving my body. I was just doing a lot of clean eating. I was really working on my protein and working hard in the gym and all these things. I was starting to change. And about 6 months in, he said to me, "You don't just look better, you look different." And what he meant by that, as we've kind of talked about this, is he said a light kind of came on in me. And a lot of people say that to me about my photographs, that I'm just happier. I just am starting to feel more joyful. And I think when you show up for yourself and really invest in yourself the way I was doing and continue to do, and not just in the gym lifting heavy weights, it's in the kitchen, it's moving my body, going for long walks with my dog or my husband. But it's also doing a lot of mindset work to really overcome past narratives of, I can't do this in middle age, or, you know, life is kind of over at 50. It's all, over the hill and down, whatever they say. Just really uncovering and scratching at these old narratives and changing things.
Tell us, if you could, a little bit about what do you call it? Macro diet?
Macronutrition.
Macronutrition.
Yeah.
What's macronutrition?
Macros simply means proteins, fats, and carbs. And the principle there is that I eat all three proteins, fats, and carbs at every meal. I currently eat 5 meals a day, and I aim for about 150 grams of protein a day. And mixed in with the protein, I'm eating plenty of carbs and fats in the right proportions for what my body needs. And my coach helps me to program all that. She is an expert um, in macronutrition and helps to guide me along in that.
And so this is something that you have to watch what you eat. You have to count. You have to record all the different foods, and you have to stick to a specific program. And 5 meals a day. That sounds excessive.
I love it. I love to eat, so it's not a problem for me. Um, so I will tell people there's nothing I don't eat. I just fit it into my macros. We do use an app in the coaching community that I'm a part of called My Macros app, and it just helps to kind of keep things on track. And people have said to me, and I think I believed this early on and why I was a little reluctant to learn macros. I thought, gee, it's going to be restrictive. I used to roll my eyes when people would say, oh, learning macros is like total freedom. I'm a complete convert. Absolutely total freedom. I now, at this stage in the game, 2.5 years in, feel so much freedom going on a vacation, not necessarily tracking perfectly in my app. That's not the point. But I can look at a menu and know I'm going to really enjoy this steak or this fish or whatever. I'm going to get an adequate amount of protein and I'm going to build around it. I just visually have the knowledge at this point to feel really confident going out to eat and just living my life with no restriction.
So one of the points that you've made is that it's not too late or you're not too old to get started in this transformation. You never are. One of the other points is that it's got to be a combination of fitness and health, and I think mindset, and we'll come back to mindset in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, how long does it take if someone's thinking about following in your footsteps? Is this
Mm-hmm.
a 1 month issue, or a 1 year issue, or a 1 decade issue?
I think it's lifelong. I'm going to be totally honest and say this is not the quick fix. This is not the I'm going to do, Atkins or Jenny Craig or insert XYZ diet. And when I get to my goal weight, I'm going to go back to eating pizza and watching Netflix and not moving my body. That's not what this is. This is a lifestyle change. This is an education I've given myself and I continue to learn and grow and expand in. And it's lifelong. There is no end game. There is no goal of when I reach, X number on the scale, I'm done. I'm never done. I want to continue to learn and grow in the gym, in my mind, expanding in my life. I mean, I feel like this journey is truly not just transformed my body and my mind, but it's cascaded into new friendships, new business opportunities, new just everything, just a new vitality in life in my 50s. And that's really exciting. So it's a lifelong journey.
But then you talk about losing 47 pounds, a third of your body weight. It seems kind of intimidating. I can't do that.
Sure, you can. I think anybody can do that. And that really is my message. And maybe to better answer your question a minute ago, my transformation, my physical transformation did not happen overnight. It took 7 months to lose the 47 pounds. Beyond that, it took over a year to kind of quote recomp my body. Because what happens is when you lose the weight, I haven't necessarily built the muscle or the muscle isn't fully appearing there. And I show a lot of pictures before and after and during and so on my Instagram where I show myself at the end of my diet phase and my body looks quite slim, but not muscular. And there's about a 2 pound difference a year later, and my body's way more muscular. And
So,
that's happened by eating a lot more food and lifting heavy in the gym and having a whole lot of fun. So
so if I wanted to start now, or if someone listening wanted to start now, what are they looking at? 7 months, a year?
I think it's so different for everybody, Brian. I don't know. I think it really depends on your unique situation And that's where, people will ask me on Instagram, can you share what your macros are? Like how much protein, carbs, and fat I'm eating a day? What are my total calories? I don't share that because what has worked for me is not necessarily right for you. And that's a really important thing for people to know about macros.
Is there a
And
website that you could recommend people go to for this understanding of macros?
oh gosh, there's so many great resources out on the web, but I would say follow my coach. She's amazing. Her Instagram handle is Your Healthy Hedonista. Follow her mother, Train with Joan, and then follow the Wonder Women official. They are amazing. The entire community is really, really just a wonderful resource, great education tools. The Wonder Women official also has a great cookbook slash um, macro knowledge book, if you will, called Macro Mastery, I believe is the name of it. And my coach wrote it, and it's awesome. It's an ebook. I think it's $25 or so to purchase. Well worth it. It's like 200 pages long. And it helps you to understand what your macros for your unique body would be. So you could set your own. And also is filled with incredible, nutritious recipes that you will not believe you get to eat all that. And it's true, you can.
I think the last thing that you mentioned that I really want to focus on is mindset.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
think that's critical. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back in 2 minutes with Kiki and talk a little bit about mindset, what it is, how you get it, how you keep it, how you keep motivated. Because I think lots of us set resolutions, but I think the statistics are that within a week or two, the vast majority of resolutions are forgotten and not paid attention to. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour, Saga 960. It's a new year, and we got to think about what we want to accomplish in 2024. And we've got a great guest who's accomplished a lot in the last little while. Karen Hurwitt is her name. She goes by Kiki. At 50, she was diagnosed as being pre-diabetic with high cholesterol and was very severely depressed. She had poor mental and physical health based on some traumatic events, some life-threatening illnesses, and a corporate career that just wasn't working for her. And what she found was inspiration to change. We've talked about macro diets. We've talked about fitness and particularly heavy weight lifting. But I think the other thing she talked about a lot, and she posts a lot about on her Instagram, is mindset. Kiki,
Mm.
tell us a little bit about mindset and why you think it's so critically important. You made this one post about break the rules, be ambitious, live a big life. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was from a really fun photo shoot I did with some friends in New York City over a year ago. Um, Mindset, I think, is probably the most essential, critical element to a transformation journey. And why is that? Because we can do all of the tactical, practical things, eat the right food, get to the gym, lift the right stuff, change our bodies that way. But is that going to be long lasting change? Are we really going to, you know, have this be a lifestyle? And I personally don't think it's possible to maintain that unless you've worked on your mind also. What I mean by that is really getting clear about a couple of things. The first thing being, what is your why? Why are you doing this work? Why do you want it? And for me, this was absolutely about physical health, getting out of the category of being pre-diabetic, having high cholesterol. I was really afraid of all that. I want to be here for my family. That's a big part of my why. I want to live a vibrant life. I want to travel. I want to experience everything this life has to offer. And getting clear about your why, I think, is absolutely essential. It's something I kind of held on to like very, very closely, especially at the beginning of my journey. And that why continues to change and evolve as I continue to change and evolve. Um, but mindset too, there's some really wonderful books that have helped me on my journey. The first one I would tell you is Atomic Habits by James Clear, where he talks a lot about the why. Um, Secondly, my favorite book on mindset is The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. And in that book, she talks a lot about self-sabotage. And I think this might be relatable to a lot of your listeners is, we are on a particular program, we might be working with a coach, like I've been doing, and then we have an off day. We just go off the rails and eat all the things and don't work out and, kind of go off program, if you will. Well, there may be some self-sabotage things going on there. Why are we doing that? And when we really get clear and work on our mindset and get honest with ourselves, we can learn a lot about how to overcome those hurdles and not fall into those traps. And that's the work I talk about doing, is that inside job of, why do I want this? Why is this important to me? Um, and that it just helps to kind of galvanize all of the other work that I'm doing.
There's this line that a lot of people talk about that if you hang around obese people, you're going to be obese. If you hang around fit people, you're going to be fit. If you hang around people that are smoking, you're going to smoke. You also
Hmm.
posted a really interesting thing about, and I don't think you said this, you were quoting someone else, but about that your new life is going to cost your old one. Tell me about
Hmm.
that if you could.
That is a line from one of my favorite books that I just mentioned, The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. Your new life is going to cost you your old one. It's going to cost you your comfort zone. It's going to cost you your sense of direction. It's going to cost you relationships and friends. It's going to cost you being misunderstood. And for me, a large part of my journey was putting down the opinions of other people, being okay with stepping out of kind of the crowd that I was running with. And there's nothing wrong with those people whatsoever. But I was choosing to do different things now. And in the beginning of my journey, I kept getting teased by them saying, well, when are you going to have the beer? When are you going to eat the pizza? When are you going to eat the normal food? And I am eating normal food. I'm just not eating it in the same quantities I used to. And I'm just choosing not to drink alcohol at this stage in my life.
So
So being willing to step away from the pack is what that's really meant for me.
I think that's tough on a lot of people. They go to an event, people are drinking. They go to a dinner, people are offering them wine. Why aren't you drinking? Come have some wine. Like, it's difficult for people
Totally.
to to change. You feel like you're a little ostracized if I went. I wanted to have a dry month. I think it was November. I tried to have a dry month, and I made it for like 2.5 weeks. And not that I've gotten any problem with alcohol, but like you, I just said, maybe I should consume less. It was tough. I didn't even make
Mm-hmm.
it the whole month.
Yeah. Yeah, it is tough. And I think when we, that quote by Brianna Weiss, when we get consumed also by the crowd we're hanging out with and sort of sucked into all of that, whatever it is, it can be really, really challenging. And then layer on people's opinions and how you feel at family functions or dealing with the holiday stress or whatever it may be in your life. There are a whole lot of reasons that we turn to alcohol and kind of fall back into that. For me, it was a very big challenge, and I think it took a lot of work feeling comfortable asking for a Diet Coke in those situations instead. But now it's no problem for me anymore.
One of the things that some people think really works is to sort of put up on the wall a picture of what you want to achieve. You've got
Mhm.
this comparison between you at 50 that I think frankly looks spectacular, but you at 50 versus you at 53, and the transformation is pretty inspirational. Do you think that kind of putting up on the wall what you want to achieve is intimidating, or is it inspirational?
Oh, I think it can be inspirational. And I think that's a large part what Instagram has been such a positive influence for me. Finding Train with Joan, for instance, I keep her picture on my phone um, as proof and evidence that I can be healthy and vital well into my older years. She's now 77 years old and absolutely killing it in the gym and living a really vibrant, healthy life and is so independent and thriving. And that's the example that I admire and want for myself. So I think images of other people doing things that I used to think were not possible for me are super inspirational and have been really important for me visually to hold on to.
You mentioned that after a while, your husband ended up being inspired and hired a coach as well. Tell me, has this impacted him?
Oh, big time, big time. He started doing all the same things in the gym with me. We are together, we've lost 107 pounds between the two of us. He is just happier, I would say. Um, yeah. There is a lot of joy that comes with, being able to fit into clothes again and just feel healthy and going for long hikes and not being huffing and puffing and feeling in control of understanding the food aspect has been really, really important to both of us. And we go out for dinner and we know instinctively and intuitively at this point what we need to fuel our bodies appropriately. So there's no shame, there's no fear. It's total freedom.
One of the other things you spoke about was that you used to be a people pleaser. Why was that bad?
I think it was bad because I never took time to please myself. It was always taking care of everybody else but myself. And also, really having other people, the weight of other people's opinions just mattered far too much in my life. And I think waking up in my 50s and going, you know what? I'm going to do something that's totally out of the norm for me and maybe out of my comfort zone, which a lot of this transformation work has been out of my comfort zone. And certainly putting myself out there on Instagram was not something I ever intended to do. And I'm now glad that I have because I've connected with women um, that in ways that just are truly remarkable to me and so soul filling.
And it's inspirational. It's inspirational for lots of us. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
How do you get started? I think that that's one of the biggest issue a lot of people have is that they just don't know what the first step is.
Yeah, the first step for me was recognizing I needed help, that I had tried every single, you name it, quick fix diet, and I had succeeded at a lot of them for a very short period of time and then gone right back to all of the old habits. I had to change my habits. So where to start? I think if you can afford it, I recognize I'm very, lucky and privileged that I can afford to work with a coach. Um, and if you can afford to do so, I highly recommend it. I think having that community of a like-minded women, a team around you is so important. And that guidance has been incredibly beneficial to me, giving me the education I needed to support myself. Um, if you can't afford to hire a coach, there are some incredible apps out there. The first app I'll mention is Train with Joan. You can join her app, and all of the fitness programming is there. Macronutrition support is there. Another wonderful app that I would recommend is from Caroline Drury Fit, and she was my first coach with the Wonder Women. She has since left the Wonder Women and started her own business and has built an incredible app that has all the fitness programming. The cost of it is $1 a day, so it's very inexpensive. You will get all the support you need to really start and work through a transformation journey of your own. The fitness programming is there, the macronutrition support is there, the community support is there also, which I think is really key.
Kiki,
So some
remind
wonderful.
us, Kiki, remind us what your Instagram handle is.
It's the Likey Viking, and it's the Likey Lykke, which means joy, and Viking.
Well, the Likey Viking, Kiki, Karen Hewitt, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. This is an inspirational way to start the new year. And
Thank you so much, Brian.
I think, I'm not sure what the macro diet, I'll have to check that out, but I think that I'm going to have to start lifting some weights and following in your footsteps. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Happy New Year.
We're going to take a break and come back with a couple of final comments for myself on thinking about New Year's resolutions and mindset and manifestation and intention setting and goal setting and just getting started in 2 minutes. Stay with us, everyone. Back in two.